If I asked you, how is democracy going in the USA right now, what would you say?
Not good. We're losing all of our allies. We're making sure they hate us and don't want anything to do with us.
Ever wonder what it would be like to be 100 years old? Or what America looks like to someone who lived through the Second World War? Well, don't wonder anymore. Peggy Jemison Bodine is turning 100 this July. Over the course of her life, she has raised a large and happy family, become deeply involved with the civic life of Memphis, and, oh, by the way, lived next door to Elvis Presley. She used to watch Elvis play touch football in the yard with her kids. This week, we're talking about the fracturing national narrative, the secret to a long and happy life, and the new season of Matlock here on What is America? How old do you think you will live to be? If you Google life expectancy calculator, you can actually get an estimate. Several life insurance companies have posted the algorithms they use to estimate how long an individual person will live. And if you answer a few questions about your lifestyle, how much do you weigh? What's your blood pressure? They'll actually spit out a number. It's like a BuzzFeed quiz, except math. These life expectancy calculators are a guilty pleasure of mine. I like to take them last thing at night, right before I go to bed. What I do is, when I'm answering questions about how I live my life, I like to view myself in the most favorable possible light. How many days a week do you work out? Oh, every day. Ever smoked a cigarette? No. If I really fudge it, I can sometimes get a number in the 90s, maybe like 91 or 92. But I can't touch Peggy Bodine. This year, she's turning 100 years old. Hi, howdy, hello. I'm John, and this is What is America. For the next year, I'm going to drive all over the country and talk to people about their lives. Together, we're going to figure out the news story of America, what gets us out of bed in the morning, what we're struggling with, and what we're building toward as a nation. I'm here in Memphis for one more week, and then I'm off to Gainesville, Florida. To learn more about our itinerary and stay connected, visit our website, whatisamericapodcast.com. Okay, let's talk about the interview. Dr. Peggy Jemison Bodine has a lot to be proud of. An only child whose mother was divorced, she's now the matriarch of a large and prosperous family. Through her work with organizations like MIFA, the Junior League, and the Symphony League of Memphis, she's left her stamp on the city where she's lived her life. Here's a fun story. In the 60s, when Peggy was about the same age I am now, she was concerned about how integration was going in Memphis. Basically, as soon as black families started moving into a neighborhood, white families would leave. They would decamp to all white neighborhoods in the suburbs. You remember Dorcas Young Griffin, our first interview? That's what happened in Oak Haven, the neighborhood where she grew up. Peggy didn't think that was right, so she decided to do something about it. Together with some fellow historians from the University of Memphis, she grabbed a microphone and marched out into these neighborhoods. They wrote a series of neighborhood histories designed to help people feel proud of where they lived and live together peacefully with other races. Basically, she started the 1960s equivalent of a podcast. And today, many of those neighborhoods are integrated and thriving. I'll be honest. When I asked Peggy how democracy was going in the US, I was kind of hoping she would reassure me. Like, oh, we'll be fine. We've seen it all before. But that's not what she said. In Peggy's estimation, American democracy is not going very well right now. She's concerned that we're tearing up our international alliances, increasingly standing alone on the world stage. In her words, we're making sure that these countries hate us, that they want nothing to do with us. She's concerned about stock market volatility and the increasingly divisive rhetoric of political parties and the media. But Peggy also offers us an example. A Democrat, she spent most of her 99 years married to two different Republicans. She says the key to getting along with the other side is a good sense of humor and the recognition of just how much we have in common. I had a ton of fun with this conversation, and I hope you do too. There it is. We're on our way. So you can kind of see us over there.
I can see us.
Yeah, and you look really good.
Well, I don't know about that, but you do. You look fine. And it doesn't have to be perfect.
Thank you.
So it just has to be.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay, just for this part only, please look right at the lens and introduce yourself like you just met a new friend.
I'm Peggy Bodine, an old lady who loves meeting you, John. It's very nice for me to have this opportunity. So I love all the classes. I've had connections with a number of your family, and this is a special, another one.
I appreciate you. It is an honor to sit down with you.
Thank you.
I heard you turn 100 in July.
That's correct. July 11th. I was born 1925, just before the Depression hit. So I've lived through a lot.
I think that's right. What was Memphis like when you were growing up?
Well, Memphis growing up, in 1925, it was rather poor. And people were conserving everything they could. Certainly, my family was not wealthy. And mother married a man, and he was working, and she was getting ready to have a baby. So that was exciting. Memphis was a small town. Everybody sort of knew everybody else, where they came from, or what they were doing. So different than now.
What was your impression of your mother at that time? Because you were very little.
Oh yeah, I loved her.
Yeah.
And when the only time I really have recollection of emotion about the divorce was that Mother and Daddy tried to go back together. They thought they'd give it another try, but it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And so the case went to court. And somehow I was, by that time, maybe 6.
Mm-hmm.
And they put me on the stand and asked me who I wanted to live with. And this made me cry on stand. I never had thought about living with anyone but my mother.
Okay.
And so I started to cry. And I remember the judge I can't remember his name, but he said, take that little girl off the stand. She doesn't just need to be up here. You all handle this otherwise.
And they sent you to live with your mother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No question about that.
Okay.
So
I've got a few getting to know you questions. What kind of car do you drive?
I drive a Lexus.
Ooh, what kind of a Lexus?
I don't know,
Okay.
but a good one.
Okay.
It's 12 years old.
Okay. What color is it?
Gray.
Nice. Very sophisticated.
Very smooth, very grand. And the last car I had, Dick, my second husband, was very much into Lexus. He said the motor, and he was quite good with engines and motors and radios. And he liked a Lexus, so we had those.
They're pretty swell. What's your favorite food?
Well, I guess I'll have to say home place pork.
Oh.
That's my grandson's organic. I've got a plug.
That's a product placement.
I got a plug for him.
He should send you a check.
I'll tell him.
Yeah. And what do you eat for breakfast in the morning?
I have a scrambled egg with grated cheese, piece of bacon, generally a cinnamon toast, a piece of cinnamon toast,
Every single day?
coffee, and then I have a small orange that I take apart.
Very good.
You know, one of the little miniatures.
You know, everybody's going to wonder, how did you live to be 99 years old? Do you think the breakfast is part of it?
Oh, I don't think so. A lot of people live long, I'm sure, and eat nothing. But I like breakfast, and I like breakfast foods, and I'm the very simple foods of what I like.
Uh-huh. What is something that people may not know about you?
Oh, let's see. Well, there are probably lots of things. But I'm really lazy at heart.
What? I know something about your bio. I find that very hard to believe. What's something surprising about you?
Surprising. I'm very ordinary. So surprising is hardly a word to fit me. I'm not seeking odd and unusual things to do or think about. I'm very content with my life and what it offers.
That's beautiful.
And contentment, I'm grateful for, because I think that's hard to get sometimes.
So that's a great segue. The next question is, what's something that you've been feeling grateful for?
Well, for that I'm grateful, and for a good humor, and finding perhaps a little bit of humor in most things that happen.
Can you tell me a joke?
No, I don't know jokes.
Okay, if you think of one, let's tell it.
All right.
What's something you're proud of accomplishing?
I'm very thankful for the things I've been able to do. I suppose one of the things that were most helpful to me, and perhaps to the city, were working for MIFA and writing the neighborhood histories that I did in the 70s and early 80s. And I wrote 4, and they introduced me to the people and their lives in a very sincere way.
So tell me about those histories.
It was at a time of integration, and blacks were having some occasion to buy into what was traditionally considered a white neighborhood. And when they did, in some of these neighborhoods, the whites who could left. And MIFA was very disappointed in that. They felt that was bad for the people, bad for the neighborhoods. So they got a grant to hire 2 historians who would write about neighbors that were going downhill, that showed by census tracts that they were losing population for the wrong reasons. Well, they didn't make a decision on the wrong reason. I threw that in. But so they were interviewing for historians, and I had just gone back to school in my old age and finished my history master's. And I ran into one of my good friends, Julia Allard, who had gone to work early for MIFA, who said, "Peggy, what are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I've just finished my master's in history." She said, "Why don't you apply to MIFA? They've gotten a grant and they're going to hire 2 historians." And I said, "Julia, I'm an amateur historian. They wouldn't hire me." She said, "Go and see. You might be surprised." So I followed her good advice. I did go, I applied, and I got one of the positions. Dr. Betty Tilley was the other historian who was much more qualified than I. But we both started out and were given 4 neighborhoods each that we would be responsible for.
And these neighborhoods today, many of them, Cooper Young, Valentine, Evergreen, are thriving.
Thriving.
And they're also integrated today.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And Cooper Young is particularly interesting in that when we went, that was our first one. So we headed out with two medium-aged women in their tennis shoes with their tape recorders. And we went looking for a place where people would be sitting and talking. And we started with the barber shop right there on the corner, where a lot of the local men
A lot of talking goes on.
went on in the barber shop, where a lot of talking goes on and a lot of time is spent getting your haircuts.
Uh-huh.
And so that was where we began. And we told it that our purpose was to encourage the citizens to stay. This is a good neighborhood. What did you like about it when you moved in? What has been a joy to you through life? What's changed? What's really changed? So that was sort of the way we started talking to them. And sometimes it had a good effect and sometimes not. But with Cooper Young, the barber said, "Ladies, you've come too late. This neighborhood is gone. It is gone."
Wow. I think, what year was that?
It was in the mid-'70s.
So today, Cooper Young is one of the coolest neighborhoods in Memphis. So I think he may have been wrong and you may have been right.
We'd like to talk to him if we could find him and say, "Look, the neighborhood is thriving in a different way than it was when we were talking to people in the neighborhood."
Mm-hmm.
It was a very church-oriented neighborhood at that time.
Do you take some pride in that? The fact that the neighborhood is thriving today?
Oh, yes, very much. I take pride in that.
And you know what I realized? When you were about my age, you set out with a microphone and just started talking to people. We were on a similar mission.
Similar mission.
Yeah.
Similar mission.
Okay, one more getting to know you question.
What?
If you could have a superpower, what would you choose?
Superpower in what way?
You could have X-ray vision, or you could fly, or have infinite strength.
Oh, let's fly.
Ooh, let's fly. Hey, me again. As some of you know, I spent the last 8 years working in tech. And there's this thing that everybody in tech likes to say all the time. We're building the plane as we fly it. Basically, it means that what we're doing is new, so we're figuring it out as we go. It's kind of wild. It's exciting and a little scary. 3 episodes in, and that is definitely where we are with this podcast. We are building the plane as we fly it. So if you could like this episode, comment on it, and subscribe to my channel, gosh, that would mean a lot to me. Hey, you could even send it to a friend who might enjoy it. Okay, back to the interview. You graduated high school during the Second World War.
I did.
And what was America like at that time?
America was very patriotic.
If I had asked you, when you graduated high school, what is America? What would you have said?
I would say we are a brave country and we are fighting a wicked Germany.
Mm.
And that's what people thought.
Mm-hmm.
And most of our young men were already drafted in my class. I graduated in 44,
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of the war. And they were already drafted in service.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest were about to be, one way or the other.
If I asked you now, what is America? Now in 2025, what do you say?
It's culturally diverse much more than it was in my growing up days.
Mm-hmm.
At least my part of America was more centralized or more. I hadn't spread my wings so far to go much beyond my own friends and acquaintances and family.
Mm-hmm.
And it was patriotic, loved America, was proud of it,
Mm-hmm.
and supported it.
I think back at the end of the Second World War, America had a story. There was a definite narrative of progress and of freedom and peace that I think people gravitated toward. Does America have a story now?
America has many stories now, I think. And we were slow to recognize that there was more than one. And cultural customs have changed.
Mm-hmm.
It's broadened, just like we did before, after our predecessors.
Mm-hmm.
In our way, we did a little more progressive thing, shall we say?
Yeah.
Or, we smoked a cigarette, for heaven's sake.
Goodness.
Which was terrible. I never did smoke. Mother smoked. Mother was independent. And she said, if you're going to smoke, smoke in front of me. You don't have to hide. I said, well, I don't care about smoking. I guess I was a goody, to tell you the truth.
She was a very modern woman, and I think it's interesting that you never smoked, even though it was right there.
I think I tried it one time and didn't like it.
Okay. Didn't like the taste?
Didn't like the taste.
Yeah.
Or the smell.
Yeah. Smelling like an ashtray. That's
right.
no fun.
I didn't think it was very attractive. It did not seem sophisticated to me, which is what most people in my little circle did it for. They thought it was sophisticated.
Interesting. Have you ever seen Mad Men, the TV show?
No.
It's about that era, and some characters smoke and others don't, and some feel that it's sophisticated and others think it's gross.
Interesting that you said that. Last night, I was looking at the Netflix,
Uh-huh.
and I got on Matlock.
Okay.
Mrs. Matlock, which is played by someone from Memphis.
Kathy Bates.
Kathy Bates.
Uh-huh.
I saw Kathy Bates, and I said, well, that's a Memphian. And I watched it, and it was so interesting because I had watched that, that years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And here she is.
I think she's so good.
I
think it's the best she's ever been.
She's being one. I just had the one issue.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah. I've seen a few episodes, and
you?
I'm sticking with it. I heard you live next door to Elvis.
I did.
How was that?
Well, it was very exciting. Elvis moved in when he was about 19. And what he wanted to do was play touch football with the boys on the street. And so the boys could run up to the doggerel's yard because they were not particular about not letting them play touch football on the grass. So they had a game going up there. And he played until his popularity exploded, which it did shortly after he moved in.
Uh-huh.
It just became impossible to believe.
What do you remember about Elvis?
He was pleasant and nice, and my contact with him was one time, Miss Presley called on me, and I had 2 children after they moved in, and somehow we went over one time to their house. I returned the call of Miss Presley, and we were in there when Elvis came in on his motorcycle with Natalie Wood on the back of the motorcycle.
Wow.
And she was pretty, and he was sweet to the kids, and he said, you kids go into my bedroom and take a stuffed toy.
Wow.
So they both went in and took a stuffed animal, and they kept it until one day I'm sure we were careless with it. But one day, we came home, and my oldest son, Frank, had one of the toys on, and he was riding his bicycle, and he was selling hairs on the teddy bear for 25 cents. And so we said, we know you're going to be an entrepreneur.
Who'd you vote for in the last election?
Oh, I voted for that lovely lady who didn't get it. And how in the world we have a president we have. I did not vote for Trump. And I worry that he's going to wreck us in this country.
So when you voted for Kamala, what were you excited about?
Well, I was excited about her knowledge, her performances, the fact she's a woman. That has played in it too. I like that. And I think a woman could do it. I think Clinton should have been elected at that time. But she wasn't. And maybe we just won't elect a woman at this time.
It's an interesting question. I wonder about it too.
I don't know that we will, because Ms. Harris was an obviously good candidate. But she did not have an appeal. And I grew up Mother and I were Democratic. Mother wasn't very politically interested. But as a girl, we talked about it, and I wrote Franklin a letter, and he wrote me back thanking me for the...
Franklin Delano Roosevelt? Wow.
Well, it was.
What did your letter say?
That I admired him as a president, and I was glad he won. It was something.
And he wrote back?
And he wrote
Did
back.
he sign it?
Yeah.
What did he say?
He said to thank me for being a little girl who cared about it, and he was glad I wrote him.
That's marvelous. If I asked you, how is democracy going in the USA right now, what would you say?
Well, I'm afraid it's not going in my direction.
Okay, in your direction, but zooming out, how's it going?
Not good. We're losing all of our allies. We're making sure they hate us and don't want anything to do with us.
How are we doing that?
Well, tariffs are, of course, not popular. And the bonds are going down. I hate to say what the stock market's done. Financially, he's got to really see some improvement. I wonder how long people are going to stand for a $1,000 drop in the stock market.
The Dow Jones Industrials. Yeah.
What?
The Dow Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we wanted to make democracy work better, what could we do, or what should we do?
We should have some better candidates running for office, for one thing. And it just means a lot of legwork on the part of both parties. I don't know what happened this time.
Yeah.
I look back on, I was so flabbergasted when Trump won, and so huge majority. I could not believe it.
You have a lot of friends who voted for Trump.
Oh, yeah.
So, and you were married to a Republican for many years, and somehow you managed to keep it civil. And keep it friendly with your friends, with your husband. Talk to me about how you keep it friendly.
I believe in polite behavior in what you do. And that means a good humor. And it's not that hard to keep on certain subjects. Now, there are some people you can't talk about in a reasonable way, but I try not to talk to those.
I worry because it seems like we get in these different worlds where people aren't talking to each other. They don't even have the same facts.
Well, that's very true. And you're really in a time of disbelief with the facts you get, which you've never been before.
If I ask you, what is the American dream? What do you say?
Well, I think I've had it.
Mm-hmm. Tell me more.
I've had two outstandingly good men who have made me proud and been honorable. And they've been so good to me. And I don't know, this sounds maybe egotistical, but I have been so covered with affection and goodwill in my life that it's not all deserved. I mean, a little of it is, but it's not all deserved, and I still have gotten it.
That doesn't sound egotistical to me. What is your secret to a long and happy life?
I have no secret. I don't know why it happens or how it happens, but it's happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, what did I do differently than others? Not much. I didn't smoke and I didn't drink much, maybe a little wine. A little bit, maybe more than that sometime. But I've just had good health and no pain. So what have I had to complain about?
Do you think you have a purpose in life?
I do.
What's your purpose?
I think it's to shed as much love as I can and affection to others and hear them out and try to understand it.
Yeah, I think you're a great listener.
When it doesn't appeal to me as a person, but I can appreciate the enthusiasm that people have for it and not judge them.
Very good. If you could give any advice to your younger self, what would you say?
Well, don't judge. Find out for yourself. Realize that there's goodness everywhere. Seek it out. Don't expect the other.
And if you had advice for a younger person or advice for me, what advice would you give?
Follow your dreams. You do what you're trying to do. You're fortunate to have the intelligence and the ability to get this wonderful equipment and to do something interesting. You're doing it. Keep doing it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. What's next for you?
I'll just see how long I'll last, and I hope I can go quietly and easily. That would be nice, but whatever. I hope I can be appreciative of it.
What do you think happens after we die?
I think there is a heaven. What kind and how, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know the secret to it, but I do believe there is some resting place for all of us.
I hope so.
I hope so.
Very last question, very last one. What's giving you hope?
Well, I hope in my children. I have 8 grandchildren. I have 11 great-grandchildren. I have high hopes for the world. And I have 3 children who are all working in one way or the other to make things better for people. So I'm grateful for that. And I hope they keep on doing it.
Oh, I'm grateful for you, Peggy. Thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome.
What a wonderful conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you hear that? Did you hear what Peggy has for breakfast every morning? I'm kidding, of course, because the secret to living to be 100 years old is definitely not cheesy scrambled eggs and cinnamon toast. As near as I can tell, it comes from investing in human relationships, having a terrific sense of humor, and being content with what you have. Here's one thing that stood out to me. Peggy graduated from high school in World War II. I asked her, imagine that I'd spoken to you back then and asked, what is America? Her answer was instantaneous. She said, we're beating back the wicked Germans. We're spreading democracy and defeating evil. Then I asked her, and what is the story of America today? Her answer was much more circumspect. Well, she said, there are many stories. Remember, Peggy has a PhD in history. I think she's on to something. For the longest time, most Americans got our news from the same place. Between the 1950s and the 1980s, there were basically just three options: NBC, CBS, and ABC. Then, in the 1980s, the media landscape started to fracture. Increasingly, Americans could find news that aligned with their political beliefs, and fact-checking went out the window. Today, thanks to social media, each of us exists in a bespoke media environment, one that's tailor-made to our preferences. In a situation like that, it's much harder to agree on who we are or what we're building toward as a nation. Okay, question. My itinerary is all set through the end of June, but after Allentown, I'm wide open. In July and August, I was hoping to visit one city and one rural area in the Midwest. I was thinking Detroit, but I'm not set on it. Do you have any recommendations? Especially a place where you could maybe introduce me to someone? If so, I'm all ears. Please email me at whatisamericapodcast@gmail.com. If you're interested in staying connected and coming along for the journey, the best thing you can do is subscribe to our newsletter. It's basically my shower thoughts about the journey, as well as links to the latest podcast episode. Go to whatisamericapodcast.com and enter your email. If you're trying to follow me on social, I'm at What is America Podcast on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and hey, TikTok. Finally, if you're skeptical of this whole video trend and really just want to listen, you can find the audio edition of this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Say It With Me, wherever you get your podcasts. Anybody listen to this while they're doing chores? Before we get out of here, I want to say thank you to one person who has helped me and the podcast level up. Alex Acree is a gentleman and a scholar and one of the greatest legal minds of his generation. If I seem different to you this week, it's because I am now a company. This podcast is now a production of Boldly Go Media, LLC. I'll tell you more about the name in coming weeks, and a big thank you to you, Alex. Next week is another week, and I can't wait to share our next interview. It's a banger. Until then, I'll leave you with the Gandhi quote that launched this whole crazy adventure. The act may seem small, but it's important that you do it. Thanks very much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.